Assalamu alaikum. Uh, this is chapter 1, which is Introduction to Computers and the Internet. This is a general overview uh, and some details of the evolution of computers and evolution of Internet in general. And it's going to be a lot of information, but I will try to summarize so that the video does not get very heavy for Blackboard upload. So I'm gonna go fast enough because this is just a chapter that requires you to read the chapter in details from the PowerPoint section, and also if you have the book, I will try to upload the electronic book as well so that you can actually review this chapter in details. But I will try to make this video as long as maybe 40 to 45 minutes maximum. Alright, the internet and web technology is the topic of the day, topic of the era, topic of the century, and at least if you are not a professional web designer and web developer, you should be able to know how these are conducted, how these applications are created and deployed. So this book is focusing on web engineering and development in general, in which we're gonna go through client-side programming and server-side programming. In client-side programming, we're gonna use browsers and some applications like JavaScripting, and on this and HTML and stuff like that. And on the server-side programming, we're gonna use some applications like PHP. So usually, I'd like to start this course by some introduction about what are the use of computers. Computers and internet are used to do what? They are some examples of how computers and internet are being used in industry and research. There are some images I would like to show you why computers and internet are being used. First, the first list is computers and internet are being used to improve healthcare. These two applications, like electronic health records that you see in the hospitals and clinics, and also HGP, which is the Human Genome Project, that was to analyze the genes of human being, like DNA and stuff like that. Computers and internet are used in healthcare in these two big areas. And some examples of some ways that computers and internet are being used for social goods, like Amber Alert, which is this is an emergency response alert system where to find abducted children, homeless people, so that those who are lost, to find them, especially in America and Europe. And also World Community Grid, which is this is a worldwide system where people can donate their unused computers and laptops and iPads and stuff like, by installing them to this community grid system, where some people that can reuse them. This is some projects where in social working people are using them. Also on this is one laptop per child. This is a project actually being used and enabled and activated in United States to enable laptops to poor children, to enable them to have some laptops for free for social goods. Some examples of how computers are used are to actually to communicate and navigate uh, and to collaborate. These like cloud computing, where uh, people allows you to use both hardware and software in the cloud to access remote computers through the internet, and also to be able to use the resources there, and to have this as data warehousing, storage of information for especially big business that have big data that people can have some storage online, where uh, it it is secure, safe, and also accessible through some login information. So there are servers online for cloud computing. Also, uh, GPS, which is this is a global positioning system where it help people to locate places and directions uh, to through the satellite to determine the location of a specific place or location of a specific spot. So this will give you direction to find your place easily. And also robots systems where people can actually create some devices where it allow people to share some information, and especially in medical field, and now in the time of coronavirus, where people are advised not to be in touch physically. So actually a lot of things are done through robots, especially in Asia, like in Japan and China. Also, internet can be used in email, instant messaging, video chatting, FTP, file transfer protocols. People can actually share information. The example that we are doing right now, we are actually teaching this class online, where people can actually share the resources through Blackboard and stuff. This is also one part of how people can use computers and internet for. Also, computers and internet are used in entertainment. In iTunes and Apple Store, there's a lot of digital music, movies, TV shows, and ebooks that people can actually download or watch online. And internet TV also, this is what you call the set-top boxes, such like in Apple TV and Google TV. This allow people to actually access and watch a lot of content on demand, sometimes for free, sometimes for paid subscriptions. And game programming is one big area where people can actually use these games to get money or to get entertained. The video business is getting billions of dollars in the market, especially nowadays in the time of COVID-19, where people are staying home and watching and playing games at home. So online social gaming, this enables users to actually be able to interchange and communicate and create a lot of different fun for themselves, and companies that are actually having this gaming programming systems are getting a lot of profit out of that. Alright, here we jump to the area where we can what we can do for this course. This course can be divided into about 5 or 6 different areas, but the first part of it is going to be how to create websites using HTML5, which is hypertext markup language, this is a markup language people use to design the content and structure of the web pages. We will go with easy examples and then advance through the time on using HTML. HTML enable you to create the content that you can see this content through the browser, and you can see them through a specific device, usually using your desktop or laptop or iPad or phone. And there is also another application called XML, which is extensible markup language. This is used for transporting pages and for storage. We are not going to cover that, but we are going to be focusing on HTML. Cascading style sheet, which is short name for it is CSS. This will provide the ability to styline your content. So we use HTML to create pages, web pages, and we use CSS to present and style the element within that page. CSS is an independent application where people usually create as embedded code or as external code or inline code, as we will discuss in chapter 4 and 5. JavaScript is another application that we will study, in which we will create some applications to communicate with our web pages. So this JavaScript will help you build dynamic web pages that can be modified on the fly using some kind of responding to event, like user input and computation, calculation, and stuff like that. And JavaScript, of course, is a client-side application that we are going to cover in this course, in which we will study programming constructs like looping, if statement, switch statement, and linear programming, which is similar to Java, except that JavaScript is actually is used to enhance your web pages to make them more dynamic, while Java is just an application, object-oriented programming language used to create applications and not to get involved in web design. Web browsers is a client-side part where people use in order to view the content of HTML pages, and there is a lot of different examples of web browsers, including Google Chrome and Firefox and Internet Explorer, Opera, and other stuff. Browsers, they have different versions. Some of them work with Microsoft Windows, some of them with Apple Macintosh, like Safari. Linux and Unix, they have their own versions, but also these operating systems can be adjusted to have some other browsers created for a specific purpose to work on them. On mobile system, we have also for Android and for ISOs, we have also different browsers, many browsers, and this browsers can be portable in the sense that an application created in HTML should be working in every browser that is found in your computer. The mobile share as of January 2018 for these browsers, Google Chrome, and then Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and UC browser. The market share, as you could see, Chrome has a lion's share of this, and Safari, because it's used in Apple products as well, has increased in usage. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are all they have support for browsers, browsers when created, they should have support for all of these applications, and that's why usually people before they create an application, they have to decide on which browser that is basically this application should be running. But actually most designers, they try to create websites that can render for all browsers in the market, and especially those that are created using HTML and JavaScript. jQuery, which is is created for JavaScript libraries. This is it is an application that simplify JavaScript programming by making it easier to manipulate a web page as well. So it provides a library customization for graphic user interface to control the HTML and to create a look and feel, enhanced look and feel for the web pages. We can validate our HTML or CSS or JavaScript by using specific validators. There's a lot of validators online that we can use to validate our HTML or CSS or JavaScript to find errors. And these are 3 examples to validate HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. If you log into any one of these validator URLs, you can actually validate your applications to find errors and to find also compatibility issues for these 3 applications. So these are free validators where people can log in and upload the files that have been created for HTML5, CSS3, or JavaScript, or they can actually copy and paste the code within these validators. These also are some demos that people can actually have for HTML or for CSS and JavaScript to demonstrations. People can actually use these URLs to find these animations for videos, audios, and stuff like that. And also some of them, they ask you to actually fill in your information before you can use them. So these are a lot of examples here. I'm gonna go over them quickly. You don't have to try all of them. You can try a couple of them if you want. Alright, this part is actually about the evolution of the internet and www, in which you will find a historical background, historical description of when the internet has been started back in 1960s, or in ERBA project, which is Advanced Research Project Agency in Switzerland, and then have been taken there to the Ministry of Defense in the United States, where people start creating documents, and these documents are linked together. Then this linkage has been advanced later to be as shared by people across the globe. So ARPANET project is the first project that helped with the evolution of the internet, and researchers wanted to share their resources to other people across the globe. So it became clear that this communication channel should be made electronic through mail system and through they called sharing the resources with other people, other internet users. So they found themselves creating what we call link items. This part is about um, the tool or the way that the computer are actually sharing this information through what we call packet switching, which is digital data that is sent in small pieces, in small bundles to other users' computers. It's called packets, which contain the address and some sequence of information. These addresses will allow packet to be routed to the destinations where they are received by some clients. Package switching is the basic idea behind sending the information. So as we will see later through TCP/IP addresses, TCP/IP address, which is a protocol that help communicating the information between computers. TCP transfer control protocol. IP means internet protocol. It is transfer or transmission control protocol. Some people they pronounce it as transmission or transport control protocol. So TCP will ensure that messages were routed from sender to receiver, and they are received intact. Intact means as one unit, as one block. Okay. Through what? Through IP addresses. Every computer has a unique IP address that is assigned to it. So the TCP IP version 4, IP version 4, which is starting to be deployed. Version 6 is starting to be deployed because version 4 is already almost finished. Version 4, which is 4 octets, like for example 10.92.68.50, for example, 4 octets. These 4 version 4 is already, which is called IP version 4, has been working since 1984 and almost run out of addresses. So people start creating what is a new version, which is IP version 6, which is like this one, like an encrypted IP address for every computer, which is start working now, but people still are relying on IP version 4. So now some computers are actually created with 2 IP addresses. One IP address which is working now, which is IP version 4, but the other one is being created but not activated for IP version 6. In the future, people will switch all to IP version 6. In the very early 1970s and 80s, the people are not using internet as in the sense of internet. They are using it for sharing information and exchanging the documentation and stuff like that. But in the 1990s, in the early 1990s, people start using the internet, and internet start to explode since that time, since early 1990s. And this is due to a growth in the commercial markets, and people are using it through what you call bandwidths, the information carrying capacity on the internet, because this is increased rapidly, and also the cost has been declined because of the growth of the internet usage. The WWW, which is World Wide Web, basically has been found back by somebody. His name is Tim Berners-Lee. He is now Tim Berners-Lee is an English guy who is moved to America. and established this project, CERN project in Switzerland first, but now he is actually working as the president for this famous university in Boston in the United States, which is MIT, Massachusetts Information Institute of Technology, MIT. But since 1989, he's actually his project has been developed to be a sharing project of information through hyperlinks, as I mentioned earlier. And he's actually called his invention as hypertext markup language, which is HTML. So Tim Berners-Lee is the one who created HTML. Then after that, the project has been taken by the what is called W3C, which is World Wide Web Consortium. Now is producing the new versions. Internet is actually evolved through URLs using HTTPS, which is HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol secured for encrypted data on the net. So Hypertext Transfer Protocol is a protocol that help transferring the information online. For the browsers, there is a lot of browsers starting from Mosaic, Netscape. These are in the early 1990s. Now they actually expired, and new browsers have come to replace them, but they were available since 1993 as a graphical user interfaces. And then this Netscape has been sold to another company. Then a new browser has been created by the Microsoft, which is called Internet Explorer, and then later the new browsers came to exist. Alright, in the web basics, we're gonna go to teach you about hyperlinks, which you will know in the second chapter, and then we're gonna talk about web servers later in later chapters. URL usually means Uniform Resource Identifier, which is it will tell you the address of the web page that you need to access. It contains information that direct the browser to the specific resource to access it and find it. And there's a lot of examples of these web browsers, but there is some concept that you need to understand, like hostname. What is a hostname? A hostname is a website name or a domain. What is a host? A host is a computer that send the resource or has the resource, like a server. What is IP address? IP address is Internet Protocol address that it is a numerical value that uniquely identifies a specific computer on the server. And domain name server, which maintain database of the host name and also try to correspond the IP address to perform specific translation between the domain name and the IP address. Okay, right. This is just an idea of how client requests resources from the web server. The information first goes as a request from the client to the web server through the internet. The web server will try to find the information, collect the information. After it collect the information, receive them as bundle, it send them back to the client through the TCP/IP, which is Transfer Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, using HTTP protocol, whether secured or unsecured. All right. This is just some some information about the client server uh, activities and how the server will send the information and how the client will then render or display information. This is an explanation of the previous image that you have seen in the previous slides. Alright, and the HTTP usually request data through the server side for handler, and after the server search and find the information, and it create them as specified information in specific format. Then it will send them to a web client, and each request will require a specific command like get command. So they are using get and send, whether you are using HTTP or using FTP. FTP means file transfer protocol. Also, file transfer protocol can be used to get information from the server or send information from the server to the client. Alright, here is all this talking about the server and client. The client side usually can save the information that has recently been viewed to quickly reload them through what we call cache. Cache, C-A-C-H-E, cache. Cache is something saved on the disk. That means it is saved to be viewed quickly through the browser if it is frequently being opened. So you don't have to actually take time to get the information from the server, taking the time, but it's gonna take less time because the information has been saved on the disk already, so it will open quickly. So the amount of time taken to reach the information will be minimized. Here there is a lot of information about what we call multi-tier application architecture, which is a web-based application that is referred to as an n-tier application, which is actually divide the functionality in separate groups or separate tiers, logical grouping for functionality, because there has been some basic structure for application, because you have to divide this into 3 different categories. The tier that hold the database, which is the information are all stored here, and the web server that actually help sending the information to the client, and the top tier, which is actually the interface or the client that receives this information from the web server. The information are coming from where? Are coming from the database. This is called 3-tier architecture: database, web server, and client, which is a browser. This is actually explanation to what I have just mentioned on these 3 tiers: client-side scripting versus server-side scripting. In the client-side scripting, this like JavaScript, for example, people use to interact with the browser, and this is it has some limitation, like it depends on the browser, and the browser must have to support these scripting capabilities. So on the client side, you don't make any serving, or you don't make any files available through the server. It is actually paired through a browser only, like JavaScript, for example. But for the server side, like PHP, for example, server side, its files are posted through the server, and you can actually see them from a client, but they are coming from a server, as we will see in PHP, for example. And here we're going to talk about W3C, which is Worldwide Web Consortium. This is a group of people who make an organization. This organization is founded by Tim Berners-Lee to start producing new version of HTML and cascading style sheets and also XML. All right. Web 2 is a new trend created or coined by Dale Coharty since 2003 to describe the trend. This trend is actually called Web 2.0. Why Web 2.0? Because there is Web 1.0, which is the websites or the internet before this social networking, and before the Facebook, before the YouTube, before the Twitter, before the FaceTime, before this. This is called Web 1.0. Web 2.0 is the new trend where people communicate and create platforms to collaborate. It's called community-based sites like social networking, blogs, wikis, and stuff like that. So this is just description of Web 1, as I told you, through the 1990s and early 2000s, but from mid 2000s and until now, we are actually until maybe last year we are in Web 2. Now actually basically we are in Web 3, where people they have artificial intelligence and new type of internet communication and usage. This is all description of Web 2, guys. You need to read some details, and these are information or some examples of web resources under Web 2, which is like Google Maps, Facebook, Foursquare, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Groupon, Netflix, eBay, Wikipedia, PayPal, Last.fm. These are all examples of that have web has been created or built using Web 2, social networking and stuff. And here also some examples for Amazon and Skype, Zillow, Yahoo Search. All these are some popular web services that used to build web applications. All right. Facebook, Twitter, information on them. These are just details. I will stop here because this part is not going to be important about the data hierarchy, and which is you already know about. Computers are composed of what data and digits and stuff like that, bits and characters and fields and records and stuff like that. So these are not really a big deal. Also, operating systems, how the operating systems that people use, like Windows and Linux and Unix and Mac OS and stuff, these also are information are redundant. Also, mobile operating systems is only two right now that we need to know, which is iOS and Android, which that you guys already know this information. Programming language also, people can understand this from previous courses, where we have two types of programming languages. Those, machine language and actually three types: machine language, assembly language, and high-level language. Which is machine language, you know that it is the language of computers, which is the language of digits. an assembling language that they need assemblers so that they can be translated to specific program, and high level language which can be either interpreted or compiled, like C++, Java, C Sharp, and all these are language that need to be compiled, of course. These are examples of programming languages: C, C++, Visual Basic, and Visual C++, Java, and stuff, PHP, and Python. These are scripting language, in fact. And also JavaScript and Ruby and on Rails are scripting language, Scala as well. So that's it. The rest of the chapter is not going to be important. Thank you.